Hi everyone, my name is Marco Caesar and I am doing an online book presentation for my biology class. A bit about myself is I am an avid collector. I am also a self-proclaimed cinephile. In my spare time, I do like to do some creative projects when I get the chance. But let's talk about the book Our Stolen Future. It was written by two environmental scientists, Theo Colborn and Dianne Dumanoski, and an award-winning journal, John Peterson Myers. The interesting thing about this book is that it was a collaborative effort between those three individuals, and they took thousands of research papers that were done for the better part of a decade and basically pooled that information together to try to make a cohesive narrative. Um, I think that it is very interesting in some parts, but sometimes it does read a bit like stereo instructions, giving a bit of a Frankenstein feel where you can definitely tell which parts were contributed by who and who had more writing experience, or let's say that. Um, so the reason I chose this book is at the beginning of this class, we were given the option to select from a list of books. Many of the ones that I was interested in based on title were unfortunately taken, but this one was not at the moment, and the title really just drew me in. Once I read the synopsis and saw the environmental message that it was trying to give, I was immediately hooked. Um, the book does not hold back. It's very bleak and not ominous. It doesn't sugarcoat any of the effects that these chemicals are having on us as a species, and it really shouldn't when it comes to this matter. There's no going back, is very much the message that this book is trying to get through to anybody who reads it. Um, an interesting thing about it is that in 1996, when the book was published, besides the fact that I was only a year old, a lot of this information wasn't well known. There were cases of DDT that were known to individuals, and pesticides and how they affected people, but not a lot of people really understood the permanent effects that certain chemicals had, and just how certain metals and plastics and other materials that we introduce into the environment either by means of production or by waste or just by using them in our everyday lives, they stay with us, down to our drinking water and the materials that we build homes out of, or just the way that we even package our food. And it's a really scary notion. Um, the book the book introduces a hypothesis known as the endocrine disruption hypothesis. What that is it's briefly stating the chemical implications that these materials have on our hormones, mainly on the hormone estrogen, and how that's leading to certain birth defects, sexual abnormality, infertility, and not just that, but also behavioral changes and declines in sperm counts. So, what the book is trying to detail is um, how these chemicals that have been gathered through either tissue analysis, other lab works and blood works, um, once they're introduced into our bodies, they eventually change us at the chemical level, so affecting our DNA. And once these genes are introduced, they're passed on, and these everlasting effects might be detrimental to our species. Uh, there are many researchers who use the term bottleneck in regards to how fragile our next generations are going to be, and if these impacts are as drastic as some theorize, what this book is essentially trying to get out is that may be the end of our species, at least our species as we know it. But the more difficult thing to wrap our head around is the fact that these chemicals will never go away. We have introduced them into the environment, and there they will stay. It's a forewarning. In fact, when this book was republished a few years later, it was given an introduction by Al Gore, who many of you may know by his environmental career after his vice presidency. And it really picked up steam and just gave a lot more of the public the awareness that was needed to just understand how things like our non-stick chemicals for, pans and other materials, how they contain carcinogens that, while may not be deadly at the moment, those effects are widespread and they're harmful enough to derail us at a genetic level. One thing that I really appreciated about the book is, again, the no hold back. A bit of a critique is the sort of jumbled mess it could be at times whenever you can tell that they are passing off one narrative story for another narrative story between the writers instead of just having a unified thought and concentrating on that. But one thing that I did learn personally, I have been very well versed with environmental matters, and I do my best to learn as much as I can, but I definitely didn't understand the permanent changes. I understood that, individuals, when they get affected by these things, they can, receive certain illnesses, but the fact that these are being passed on generation to generation and how those generations may be exacerbated by these effects and may eventually just create a no coming back scenario. It's difficult. It's difficult to read sometimes. It's sort of just a book saying that, it was a good run. But what I see is this is an opportunity to do more to try to undo what has been done. While we may not be able to have any permanent solutions, we can at least do our best to help us. And the only way to receive that help, or to accept that help as it may, is to have a slap in the face sometimes. Some people may be turned off by that, and I completely understand that, but I think that a book like this is very necessary. Overall impressions, I would definitely suggest this to people. I wouldn't suggest this to individuals who feel a certain denial when it comes to environmental changes such as climate change or other adverse effects that humans have on the planet. But this is strictly humans affecting humans. While there is obviously a detrimental effect to other species, this book does not really go into too much detail about that. It sticks very much on the human research and that aspect of it. So, for closing statements, I just want to say that while this whole presentation and the book as a whole may seem bleak, I do think that there's a chance. The fact that it was written means that there is a chance to do more. And I hope that you have all learned something about the environment throughout this class and this video. And I hope you give this book a chance. Give this book a chance to just inform you, not scare you, but tell you what the facts of the matter are and what you can do to change them. So, with that being said, I thank you for your time and I hope that you appreciate this video. Um, I hope that this video is a good way for me to introduce myself to the world of online discussions. Um, since this is for a class, I definitely didn't get the amount of time that I would have wanted to really do a good presentation for another essay that I may do, but we'll see where this goes. So, again, thank you for your time, and that was it.